For anyone who appreciates a story that's jam-packed with action, mystery, science, and scenes that make you jump out of your seat, the Sci-Fi Channel has you covered. The show Helix is back in full force for season 2 with a cast that's bigger and more talented than ever. One of the notable additions is someone you might recognize from his days as Brian Hackett in the 90s TV show Wings. Joining us today live from Los Angeles is actor Steven Weber. Steven, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome.
Before we get to your character, of course you play the mysterious Brother Michael. Could you tell us a little bit about the show itself and set up the story for us?
Sure. Helix is basically concerned with scientists from the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, and their, I want to say, adventures in combating outbreaks of various diseases. The first season found them in an Arctic environment, and this season they are fighting a strange disease on an island that's inhabited by a fellowship, but you might say cult, that's led by a guy played by me, and his name is Brother Michael. And as it is the show Helix, and it's on Syfy, you can bet that there are some dark, crazy, gory, creepy, scary, wonderful things ahead.
For anyone who didn't get the chance to catch the premiere of season 2, I would describe your character's introduction to the series as bone-chilling. What was it like for you to step into the head of the leader of a cult?
And I was actually chilling some bones at the time I got the offer, so it was so strange, you know, so weird, in my kitchen. It was great. It's a very well-written role, a lot of scenery chewing, a lot of opportunity to interact with some wonderful actors, and it is a role that is kind of a slow brew, kind of a slow simmering role that that leads to quite a fascinating and interesting kind of climax. It's just well written. It's a highly regarded show. They have fiercely loyal fans, and it was such a pleasure to be among them.
Now, you're working with a friend of yours, actor Billy Campbell, who plays Dr. Alan Farragut. What's it like working with an old friend as well as some of your new friends?
Well, Billy and I worked on a series called Once and Again, and I was there for a year, so I got to know Billy. Billy is a great guy. I mean, he's one of the 5 handsomest men in North America. I don't even mean in show business, but in any walk of life. And he's a nice, he's a lovely guy and a fun actor, so that was fun. He's very well regarded by the crew and by his fellow thespians, so it was easy to kind of be reunited with him. We shot it in Montreal, which was quite lovely too. It was fun. It's fun. You know, I've been around for a while, so I probably know about a quarter of the people on almost any given crew on television.
How does Brother Michael feel about the CDC encroaching upon his space?
Well, Brother Michael is kind of a benevolent dictator. He is at first not that concerned by their presence, but it becomes clear that they are a dogged bunch, and they're in danger of exposing certain elements of his dominion, his rule, that he doesn't quite like, and there are conflicts brewing, and so he's like any character that is introduced into this setting. He becomes very suspicious of them, and it sets up a nice confrontation with them.
This is quite a different role for you. What would you say drew you to being a part of a sci-fi project?
I've always been kind of a sci-fi, fantasy, horror geek. I mean, I've worked with Stephen King a number of times. I've done a bunch of things in that genre. As a kid, I was a big fan of horror and horror makeup, and I've always loved it. So I don't know what drew me. Probably something traumatic happened in my childhood, and I've always been drawn to that kind of the dark side of things. But you know, it's really a lot of fun. It's a genre where people are challenged. They're craftspeople, the craftspersons, and artists, and it's like being in a big kind of laboratory in a way. You get to work with a lot of special effects. You get to work with a lot of Imagineers, you could say, people who are equally fascinated by sci-fi and horror, and it's just great fun. It's anybody would enjoy it. It's like going to a theme park.
Well, Helix is up to episode 3, and the tension is palpable. And as Brother Michael, you have such quiet power. Is there any tidbit or hint you can give us about what's to come?
There's not really. I can't. I'm legally bound not to give you hints. But you just have to do the math. You know, Helix, Plague. What do you think comes next? It's not. They're not going to have a hootenanny. It's going to be. How about this? A hootenanny of horror.
Well, Stephen, thank you so much for joining us today.
You bet. Thank you.
And you can catch the second season of Helix Fridays at 11 p.m. on the Syfy channel. For more information about the show and discussions on each episode, you can log on to syfy.com/Helix. Stick around, the Morning Blend will be right back.